We have a live stream on Facebook, lads. How scary. The real world or the cyber world can see us.
That's scary.
Yeah, and should be able to send us messages that we can see. All right. I provided a list of topics, but you guys got anything else to bring up?
Pretty good top. Pretty good list.
Yeah, I would say it's I think that obviously the elephant in the room being the election, the WA state election.
The bloodbath in the West, let's call it. What else are you going to call it? First things first, though, what I want to do at the start of this podcast, which I've been meaning to for a number of episodes, is to give a shout out to our friends in Texas, Sydney and Emily from the Pay Attention to This podcast. Now, this is a really good podcast by two pretty switched on girls over there. And we've been communicating in the last couple of weeks or so. And they are two conservative ladies and very smart and do a pretty good podcast, I reckon. And we are going to, in the coming weeks, do a crossover podcast or a crosscast. So we'll just get them on a live call like we've got going here, and they'll put it on their podcast and we'll put it on our podcast, and hopefully we'll come up with something interesting to talk about.
Exciting
Stuff, yes. New movements in the podcast world. So, yes, to our listeners, go and check out the Pay Attention to This podcast, where you get all good podcasts. The Western Australian election results. God. You ever seen anything like this before?
No, I haven't.
Depending on what side of politics you're on, you're probably extremely happy this morning or extremely jaded this morning. I think they're the two.
Do you know what? I was having to think about this, right? And, you know, even though I detest Mark McGowan and his side of politics, right? I was thinking, if this happened, like the Liberals had this much of a majority, you know, across the board in both houses, I don't think it's a good thing, no matter which side of politics. It's just, no matter which side of politics, you have to be very wary when there's this much control for one political party.
Well, you know what they say when there's one political party. It's called communism.
All right. I think that's a stretch.
Probably more fascism. But anyway, that's not what we're going with. But anyway. No, but I don't, obviously it's still, I mean, we voted for them, so still a democratic election. This is not a strange, like, you know, I don't think anyone is saying that they didn't get in fairly. I don't think that's ever in question, right? But, you know, if you saw those numbers in, you know, Rockingham numbers were 86%. You saw those
primary
numbers
vote.
in dictators, wow. Yeah. I was like, you saw those in another country, you think, man, that's obviously fake and bullshit. But, you know, no one's, it's not. It's clearly not. We all agree that that's just the way it is. But look, whether, well, like I said to you the other night, Simon, I think that was proof that you don't necessarily need a popular party. You need a popular leader.
Very true, and that's what Liberals did not have at all. I mean, but you know, and what I've seen in the media since is, you know, a lot of, you know, I suppose conservative media heads saying things like, you know, commiserations to Zach Kirkup, took on a poison chalice, whatever, you know, wouldn't wish that upon anybody, you know, going up against Mark McGowan with that popularity that he's currently got, etc. However, that's fine, all right. But that aside, what did Kirkup do to help himself? You know, he went greener than the Greens with his, you know, no emissions by 2030 policy or whatever. In a mining town and mining states. I mean,
not even so much that. I think emissions are best left to the federal government. It's nothing to do with state government. So why get involved into a policy that doesn't concern you?
Let's say WA went, you know, emission-free overnight by some miracle. Click your fingers and boom, there's zero emissions forever. Okay, so how does that affect climate around the world? It doesn't. Not one iota. It's just a shit policy.
regardless of the policy itself, that's an ongoing trend anyway. So regardless of whether you had that policy or not, the intent to reduce emissions is going to happen regardless. Like you can have a policy, but the actual market's currently doing that.
He also just flapped this out, and what backed it up? Nothing.
I think what actually hurt him was on Thursday when he released the policy, whatever the figures, and he didn't send them to Treasury. I'm like, why don't you send them to Treasury? I said, that's just asking. That's what caused Mark McGowan to lose the 2013 election. Because if you do recall, he didn't send the Metronet figures to get costed by Treasury, and Colin Barnett went to town on him.
Yeah, but look, as much as Kirk Cup, some people claim it as a bad election campaign, whatever. Regardless of what kind of play it was always a Hail Mary. It was always, mate, throw something up, hopefully it lands, and that's. I don't think there would have been.
And what he threw up was the towel, right?
Yeah,
he threw in the towel as a sort of tactical strategy to get the sympathy vote. And I went mental about that, on our last episode, and I've been proven very right that was a completely wasted strategy because people don't want that, and maybe it might have still ended up with only, winning 2 seats, but the numbers might have been a little bit better at least.
It's true, but this is
if he had fought tooth and nail and called out McGowan for a number of things that he completely missed across the board for all of McGowan's faults. No one, you ask the average pleb in the street, no one knows any faults of McGowan, right? All they know is he kept us safe, and people voted on that propaganda. He kept us safe.
But that works.
But call into question things like his dodgy deals with power brokers, and all that kind of stuff. No one's got a clue, right? No one knows about that. What he
should have said is he could have played along the "I kept you safe" player card, because he said, "I would have done exactly the same as Mark McGowan and followed the health advice." Because then what you're doing is you're not putting Mark McGowan up on a pedestal. You're saying he's following the advice of the health advice of the chief health officer.
Well, that's pretty much what he said. If you watch that leaders debate thing on Channel 7,
but it was too late, Simon, by that stage.
He pretty much said that. But so what? You're still not differentiating yourself.
No.
What I've been saying is say that, but say how you would do things differently, better and better.
And he should have said that, and he would make the health advice public. That's what he should have said.
See, I honestly, he wouldn't have won.
No, he wouldn't have won.
So it didn't matter what he did.
Going to win. They knew a year out that they weren't going to win.
Exactly. Lisa Harvey pulled out for a reason.
As soon as COVID hit, right, it was all over. It was all over. That's worked in every premier's favour. Look, it's like a war, right? War works in the incumbent's favour. It's just the way it is.
Common enemy.
Yeah.
Except for George Bush Senior. Didn't work for him.
Yeah, all right.
Played the long game. His son's still got 8 years. So,
yeah.
Depends on how you look at it. So
his surrogate still won. Yeah.
Yeah, he prepped his juniors for it anyway. But you talk about look, McGowan was leading pre-COVID anyway. He had quite a substantial lead regardless. I think it's very different to Queensland, whereas I don't know if a year ago, if they had the Queensland election, whether she would have won. I don't know if Anastasia would have won.
No.
I really don't.
I don't think she would have, no.
I don't think she would. I think COVID actually helped her campaign. But the fact that he was ahead already.
Okay. Being ahead is one thing, but being, having this popularity, which turns out he did have the 80-90% popularity, right?
No, especially in Rockingham.
Got to say. Yeah.
Two-party preferred, but...
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is you got to bear in mind, at the 2017 election, that election, they were in for 2 years anyway. They had big enough swing.
Yes.
So they're already in there.
But no party's been kicked out after one term since the 70s. He was always going to get a second
That's right.
term. That was a non-issue. Like, it was always going to be a second term. And, yeah, they got smashed. There was a bloodbath. The Liberals got a bloodbath, left with 2 people, possibly 3. You know what? People have short memories in politics. You know what the problem with having 50 members in politics is? There's 50 people that can make mistakes. There's your downside.
52. Well, 51 they
53.
probably end up with, or was it 50? But anyway, you've got 49, 50 people to snipe at you eventually. So
and it's going to happen.
They always end up eating themselves. I said it Saturday night while the counts were still happening. I was like, they'll eat themselves. This is Labor at the end of the day. They do eventually.
But it's all political parties.
McGowan has led a pretty tight ship, you got to say, with his party, but it is also his way or the highway, it seems. Eventually, people don't like that.
Well, he's led here. Look, the thing about McGowan is he's upset, I think, the MUA, who's a pretty powerful union. You know, I mean, when they were advertising saying no to the outer harbour, keep Fremantle Port.
Yeah,
that's the core fundamental of the Labor Party is a union movement.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
The union leader was saying he's got to, hold his nose and tick the Labor box this time.
That's what he said
on 6PR. He said more or less, he'll still vote for Labor, but he'll be holding his nose doing it because they stink. Because he obviously can't vote Liberal because they can't.
As much as that's the case, look, the results proves that he shouldn't have been aligning with the union. Like, surely you getting another 20% swing means you're making the right decisions, whatever it was, whether it be marketing. Look, his best decision by far, is that he's chummy with Kerry Stokes.
Oh, 100%.
By far, his best decision.
Does he get a favourable run in the West Australian?
Absolutely.
Of course he does.
Jesus Christ.
That was a rhetorical question.
The thing is you bang on about size. So a lot of the left bang on about the right getting a ride in Murdoch's paper. But then you'll mention that, but Kerry Stokes is pretty chummy with McGowan. It's a non-issue.
Oh, the ABC is very...
Isn't that the same thing? I actually find, look, as much as people might not agree, I think the ABC is actually fairly impartial, personally. Everyone bangs on about them, but they're not anywhere near the worst.
For some elements,
they don't have a vested interest.
They pick and choose what they're impartial and what they're biased about.
But they pick and choose on not on money. It's not deemed on money because the money comes from the government anyway. They're on who they like and who they don't like, which is fine. That happens. But at the same time, I think a lot of when you look at election coverage, ABC is by far the most comprehensive, probably best coverage you're going to get out of that. And then you look at other stuff like, look, I don't know if you saw the newspaper cover for the West Australian on the weekend, right? They're basically telling you how to vote. And I'm like,
they did.
Well, is that
Not
your
basically,
role?
They did. That is the most biggest propaganda you've ever seen coming out of the West Australian. They actually went seat by seat, electorate by electorate, said, this is how you should vote. That's disgusting. I was livid when I saw that. Like,
no one mentions that one. I was like, well, that's just as dangerous as any shady side deal that you're going to get.
Not hiding their bias whatsoever. What an absolute shit rag the West Australian is. And
it's turned into an absolute crap.
And then you got these media heads, they tweet out things and they're always talking about you should buy the paper, make sure it stays alive. Fuck, the sooner that thing dies, the better. That is the worst paper in the country, mate. I would never spend a cent on the West Australian.
It needs competition. There's no competition here.
Oh, you're never going to get competition.
So you need competition.
We haven't had the competition since the 80s in the newspaper.
Who would start up competition in a medium that's dying? A slow death, but it's dying nonetheless.
But that's not the only medium they own.
No one's going to start up a rival newspaper, is what I'm saying.
But at the same time, this is what gets me with the government, all right? Surely you shouldn't be allowed to have a TV station, a radio station, and a newspaper. Surely there's a conflict there, right?
Definitely.
Do they own a radio station?
They're not involved with 6PR anymore.
No, that's Channel 9.
That's Channel 9. I don't know, but I'm sure there's some radio stations they own because I'm pretty sure that I've known some people who worked there that were along the way, and I'm pretty sure that those real obscure like Red FM, all the media coverage is by the same people. Isn't that a bit scary?
But going back to McGowan, I mean, look at the things that he got away with. This ultra popularity that he's got, it surprises me and it doesn't surprise me. The reason it doesn't surprise me is because people are stupid, plain and simple. The Western Australian public is one of the most underinformed publics of all states, I believe. Okay. And this result proves it. as much as Zach Kirkup was out of his depth, he did have a point by saying let's not let Labor have too much power. No one really gave a shit about that because they don't understand the potential consequences of that. But with McGowan's popularity, what I don't understand is why people just completely ignore his faults. And I made a list of them, starting with the parochialism that we've talked about, right? Pitting West Australians versus the rest of Australia. Okay, with the border in the context of the hard border and stuff like that. West Australians love that. For me, it's a complete fault and show of lack of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely, yep.
The quarantine shambles, how that alone should lose you an election. But the mere fact that he got away with it because this guy who got it, right, this Uber driver that got it.
Don't forget, he had the bushfires on the same week.
Just luckily, by just luck, he wasn't a spreader genetically or however you want to say it, medically. He didn't spread it. If he had been in the percentage of the population who easily spreads this virus, then it's completely, because of all the places that he'd gone to over those few days, the state would have been fucked in terms of, the spread. COVID would be out there, all over the place. It was just by sheer luck that didn't happen. And then after it was completely obvious that it wasn't spreading, he kept us in lockdown. It was one thing to put us in lockdown, but after about 3 days, I reckon he should have had a press conference and said, we're immediately coming out of lockdown, just like South Australia did. The Premier in South Australia had the balls to do a press conference and say, as of right now, we're stopping the lockdown because it wasn't necessary. And it obviously wasn't necessary after those few days in Perth and down south. And he didn't do that. And also, as well as keeping us in lockdown for the remaining 3 or so days, he also made us wear masks for another week after that, okay? Just stoking fear the whole way. And don't tell me that he was taking precaution. I don't believe that, okay? He just stuck to his original guns rather than reining in and saying we didn't need to do this lockdown after all, okay? I would have respect for him if he had said, okay, we took the precaution. After all this testing's been done, we know we don't need it, so we're coming out of it.
Yeah, but don't forget, and also that lockdown week, there was the bushfires, right? Those bushfires, the press conference became a press conference from COVID to a press conference about bushfire real fast. So all the attention went from COVID to bushfires.
All in his favour. I've got a list of these faults as long as my arm that I've written down here.
But can you see why people voted for him? They're the ones that you should be asking. So why did they vote for him?
Because he kept us safe.
Okay. Now, there ain't nothing you can say that would avoid that scenario.
Oh, yeah, I know. Mm. But anybody could have done the job that he did in that context. Easily. Yeah,
that's true. But it was him.
But with more nuance and less of the us versus them parochialism, antagonising the eastern states.
Do you know what I laugh? When people turn around and say, we should have him for Prime Minister. And I'm like, do you understand the demolition you will have? There will be no Labor Party left because they can't stand him over the other side of the country. There will be nothing.
But that's fine. He is a WA Premier. The only people he has to keep happy are the West Australians. It doesn't matter at this point.
But no, right? People are spruiking him up to be PM.
One thing in this election commentary that the media has 100% right is that McGowan has understood the Western Australian psyche.
Yeah.
He's got it down, man. You got to give that to him. He understands how stupid we are.
Yeah.
And he plays on it. He plays it to a T.
I'll tell you. So I'm going to give you a funny story about voting. So I went to vote on the weekend. I assume everyone, well, I don't know if you did it earlier or you did it on the weekend.
I did it on the first day of early voting.
Okay. I actually went, I said, you know what? I'll wait till the Saturday I vote, go get my sausage sizzle, whatever.
Democracy sausage?
I did get my democracy sausage. I did, with my onions and barbecue sauce.
Did you have to pay for it?
It was $8.50, but it goes to the school.
$8.50?
$2.50.
Were the onions at the bottom or on the top?
See, they sliced in little cubes, when they cut.
Were they cooked or raw?
Amateur. No, they were cooked, but they were, when they slide, they dice them, and I'm like, no, you got to have like
slice. No, you need. I like a loose cooked onion. It's got to be floppy. It's got to be brown, golden brown,
cooked with butter.
Butter.
Yeah, some people cook in butter. Give it a nice
oil, olive oil.
We're digressing, guys. We're digressing.
This is important. This is talking about the great Aussie barbecue, mate. This is important stuff. Come on.
There was no cake stand, but they could have. They were all sold out. All right, so that's another issue. Okay, that's where I was going with her. Anyway, so I went to vote and I asked them about So I did when I did my upper house vote. You have the parties there. And you do 1, or you do 1 to 54 underneath. Right. So I don't know if you voted 1 above the line or you did it under.
I did under the line. Always under.
We all did under.
I did under the line.
64 it was. 1 to 64. Yeah.
This is my question to you. How many were in your section, Simon? How many people were below the line?
So what do you mean?
Did you have 64?
I had 64.
No, I had 55.
I had 53.
Because you got North Metro, South Metro, East Metro, different areas in that. The paperwork says 1 to 54. So your assumption is how many members do you think are below the line?
54.
So it was a bit strange when I was 1 box short, and I was like, well, hang on a second, did I miss a number or how many people were? And so I asked the person there, the staff, all right, so how many people were in the upper house here that we can vote for? They didn't know, so I had to sit there and count them all. There was 55, and I said to them, but I have to number all of them. But you've said to number 1 to 54. So what do I do with the last box? Do I make him 55? Or do I just leave it empty? Couldn't answer my question.
Well, that's pretty piss poor on behalf of the West Australian Electrical Commission.
Isn't that your role to know that question?
I didn't have that issue on mine. Mine was correct.
I need this clarified because you've gone too fast for my slow brain.
The boxes said the instructions were number 1 to 54.
That was the instruction, number 1 to 54.
That was the instructions.
There were only 53 boxes.
No, 55 boxes.
Oh, there were 55.
I had 53. You had 55.
Right.
And so my mom was like, well, hang on a second. Shouldn't I be numbering 1 to 55 because you meant to number all the boxes? But the instructions were 1 to 54.
So that 55th box, was there a name against it or was it? Well, there would have had to be.
It was one of the guys in the no vaccination party or something.
Okay, so it was just that the instruction was
but that's but that makes it an invalid vote.
It does. That's what I'm saying to them. They were like, oh, but we understand your intent, so we count it anyway. I was like, no, that's not how it works.
That's an invalid vote.
If it's any consolation, once you get to about the probably the 10th, it's pretty irrelevant.
You don't need to do that. It's a waste of time. Really, what you should do is number 1 to 5 above.
Well, that's what they do in federal now. You can do 1 to 6, and
it's still only if you mark above, it's only 1, isn't it?
No, they changed that last election. They changed that.
Mine, I'm pretty sure, said number 1 above. No,
that's state election. Federal election, you can do 1 to 6 above the line.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about state. State is still only 1 above the line.
Yeah, state's 1 above. Right.
Yeah. But what happens is if you vote once, so say, for instance, you vote Shooters and Fishers Party, but you want your preference eventually to go. So you want to vote for a small party, right? But eventually their preference is going to go somewhere else, right? You got to check where their preferences go. Otherwise, you could be voting for the party you don't want to go in just by putting a 1 at the top.
Well, this is what I was saying about the independents as well, because there were about 12 or 13 independents under the line, and who knows who the hell these people are or what their policies are. So they could be, have policies that would align with what yours do.
Uh-huh.
Your way,
you just don't know.
But you just don't know, so you throw them down as low as possible anyway.
Yep.
The thing is, like, unless you're someone like Corey Bernardi, who already had a profile before he went there, right? So people voted for him because they knew who he was, rather than Joe Blow.
But he called himself a party name as well. He called himself Australian Conservatives rather than his name. Yeah.
You could call if you were Joe Bloggs from the Joe Bloggs party, no one will know who you are. But he obviously already had a profile, which is why it works for him, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't work. Okay, and those are the things that you have to have a profile before you go into it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a non-issue.
I really struggled with there's so many. The Health Australia Party, the No Vaccination Party.
Oh, putting last is the hardest.
I had 4 parties. So who do I put last? These are all horrible policies. I ended up putting No Vax personally. No Vax Party.
Socialist Alliance. I think I put.
Yeah.
I think I put Socialist Alliance.
Oh, I didn't have Socialist Alliance on mine.
Oh, didn't you? Okay. Socialist Alliance for me went last. then slightly above them Greens, then slightly above them Labor. Waxit was as low as possible, and all the independents were as low as possible.
So I put Waxit well above the No Vax party.
My No Vax was last.
The Health Australia party as well.
I must have done the same as well,
but because even the lower house though we have different people in different areas. I only had 5 candidates in mine. I
had 9. I think. Yeah. I actually met the One Nation representative. He was from the Middle. It was from the Middle East.
I talk about the Liberal Party getting a bloodbath. Far out.
Well, I didn't really follow what happened with One Nation.
1% of the vote.
How much?
1%.
Okay.
That's bloody worse than Liberal Democrats.
So they won't exist anymore over here?
Oh, they have nothing. They'll have nothing here. But having said that, though, mate, I don't even see them campaign at all. And they just chucked in the towel worse.
You barely heard of even the Liberals campaigning, so what are you going to expect? You're going to hear these smaller parties?
To be honest, I didn't hear much campaigning full stop across the board.
Yeah, it actually was a very quiet campaign.
Realistically, there was hardly any TV advertising. All right.
Now the next thing that's going to come up eventually at some point in the next 4 years is McGowan's going to implement this electoral reform in the upper house, in the Senate. Have you heard about this?
Yeah,
he got away scot-free with this. Another fault that he's got away scot-free with in this campaign that Western Australians are too stupid to know anything about because they don't pay attention to the news that actually matters, is that it's pretty obvious, even though Labor won't comment on it. And if they won't comment on something, well, that tells you all you need to know. They want to implement this electoral reform in the upper house. And what the idea is that they want to take away seats from the regional areas. So regional will have less representation. Now, what does that say? Nationals, right? That'll hurt the Nationals, and more power for Labor. Just a big power grab.
What it does, I think I'm totally against that. Because
of course you want to be against that.
Because I'm personally, I have invested interest in the bush. I have a property in the bush, and I think that a lot of our wealth comes from the bush, whether it's from the mining sector or the rural sector,
Exactly. So what they want to do is they want to reduce the weighting of representation in regional areas in the upper house. Okay, so they're I suppose the way that they'll spin it is, they're such large electorates, or they call them divisions in regional areas, right? Where you could have a large region or division with, say, 70,000 residents. And that has the same weighting as a region with 7,000 residents, all right, in metro area or something. So they want to try and, iron that out and take away the weighting from the division in the regional area.
Well, see, this I have an issue with that because a lot of people have never been to the bush and don't understand how the bush works. Now, why should they? Now, as much as people complain about the royalties for regions that cost this state a lot of money, well, bloody hell, they did deserve it. After all the years, I mean, they need a bit of infrastructure spent in the bush.
Yeah, it's severely underfunded.
It's completely underfunded.
Well, you take away representation and then they cop it in the arse even more.
I mean, you look at the roads. I mean, you look at Brookton Highway. That's a highway that takes you out to Kalgoorlie. It's rubbish. Great Northern Highway. It's rubbish. You go to these towns, they got nothing.
Yep.
So you're happy to milk and bleed and take advantage of Karratha, Port Hedland, and South Hedland and Newman and Tom Price and all these beautiful towns. But we're willing to give them to throw money back to them. No, we'll just take the royalty from what you're digging out of the ground.
Yep.
And I have an issue with that. And I actually have an issue with the state government not spending money at Whitnum to cover up all these asbestos that's flying around. So come on, man. That's your job. That's your duty. You got to fix that.
There's a guy that lives out at Whitnum.
Yeah, there's one guy. He's a German guy.
There's one guy. He's
Austrian,
Austrian, I think. Yeah, I saw a documentary about him a while ago.
Yeah, he checks the weather.
He does, I think, 2 or 3 check-ins of the weather per day for the Weather Bureau.
Yep.
What a job.
But he has to do it every single day. Rain, hail, shine.
Oh, it is weather, so rain, hail, or shine. That's kind of his job to tell them if it's raining. Well, it could be raining every day there. He's the only guy that will know.
I don't think it rains that much out there, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I assume he just goes and says sunny.
No, he writes the temperature. And I don't know even how they get signal out there because
satellite.
Well, have to be satellite.
They would have him set up on a satellite, surely.
Well, he runs everything. He's got a generator. There's nothing there. There's nothing in Whitnam. Speaking of Whitnam, you see all those people that go there to do all these preppers and stuff like that? All these,
ridiculous.
I was like, man, you do realise that shit's poisonous.
What is it? Doomsday preppers.
Yeah, people go they go camping and stuff.
They go camping in at the gorge and stuff. I was like, it's full of asbestos because it's danger. What do they call it? What are those danger? Oh man.
Yeah, but there's other guy. There was a video of a guy who took his family with his kids and they put up a little camp. I was like, man, you know where you are, right? You know that asbestos does just flies. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? But don't you know, Mel, because it's natural, it can't be harmful. Don't you know that?
But we won't take the vaccine because that's dangerous. But we'll go to Whitnam. Yeah, but so anyway, and I agree with the Aboriginal people of the land, right? They're saying, well, hang on a minute, why don't you decontaminate it so it gets back to, because they need it blown in the wind. And I agree with they should do that. That government should, instead of just degazetting it and forgetting about it, fix it up, spend money in the region.
What are you talking about? That's bloody how they've always done this. They look at Maralinga in South Australia.
Mm. Well, I can get Maralinga because you can't go in there.
Yeah, but why? They stuffed it up and they stuffed it up and didn't want to go back there and fix it. They'll bloody blowing up radioactive material in there. And they said, sorry guys, maybe just don't go in there anymore.
Yeah, sorry, man.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, by the way, fellas, I have to report that we've just gone live now.
I can see.
I forgot to press the go live button. So we've been talking for half an hour and there's some good stuff too, and we've only just gone live. Oh well, anyway, we're live now.
It's all good.
Welcome to anyone who's listening live.
Yes.
But so I disagree totally with I have full support of the regions, and I think they should have their vote is worth just as much, if not worth more, well and truly more than what for someone living in the city. Look, just what they need, just their infrastructure needs are way more than what they are in the city. They need doctors. They need. If they need a doctor, it's like they can't just go. Oh yeah, let's just go to a doctor here, or we'll call one. We'll call the locum. You need to provide for all that infrastructure.
This actually brings me another point that I was saying, because it rolled back to the election, and some people saying that McGowan was the handled the coronavirus the best. Right, that was the term. Right, Northern Territory does not get anywhere near the kudos it deserves.
Mm.
Like seriously, man, they've had no community spread for thing. They opened up first. They had pubs first. They've had no quarantine issues. They've got the most vulnerable population in the country. They've had no hard borders, nothing, and somehow everyone else is getting the credit.
Yeah, true. Give it a shout out to all our people and mates in Darwin there.
That's it. Darwin represent. I mean, it's the only flight we get to have from the federal government going to Alice Springs. So,
hey, what are your thoughts on that one? Did you hear about the federal government's releasing to 12 places, and from WA we can only really go to Alice Springs?
Well, are you surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised.
I mean, with the way McGowan's carried on, they probably just want to give him a big fuck you.
I don't think it's that. It's like, well, how do I guarantee you're not going to close the border?
Well, it's not even that. You know what I find strange about this one, right? Really, like the WA government has been banging on how well the WA is doing and the tourism sector is doing, right? They've been banging on about this. And then you bang on that they didn't get support from the federal government for the struggling tourism sector. I was like, well, you can't be struggling and ask and say you're doing well at the same time. That doesn't make any sense.
Yep. Yes, I agree with that. And plus, it's based on flights. How many flights here from Perth to Townsville? You know what I'm saying? So what do you expect? You need a flight from Perth.
There is actually 3 flights going to Broome as well. So it's not just from Perth. There's more than one place that's getting some benefit in WA.
Yeah, but they're talking about people from WA want to visit the other places. Or from WA, you can only visit Alice Springs. Well, you got to ask yourself, how many flights are there available to go to other regional towns?
No, but the thing is, there's Broome flights available. Broome was available. It's just from Perth there was 1 flight. So I was like, that's a WA town as well. So that's what I was like. Okay, that's an odd odd stance to take when you seem to be claiming it and doing so well.
Yes, I agree with that one.
I was going to say I booked a trip next month to Sydney for a work trip.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Well, make sure you fill in your G2G.
Well, that's the thing. I think I can just – I don't think I need the app. I think I can just like fill in a form on the way back in or something. I don't know. I'll work it out.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'll just tell them I don't own a smartphone, right? So I can't have the app.
We'll just go there with a Nokia 7250, so.
Well, they can't. Where are they going to go? Show me your phone? No, I don't even have a phone. It's a big deal. You can't track me on my app. I'll fill in whatever form. That's fine, but I'm not going to be tracked. That's for sure. Just hopefully there's no changes between now and my return that I don't have to quarantine on the way back in or whatever. But,
or was it Sydney with the doctor or someone got done?
No, that was Brisbane. That was Brisbane.
Oh, Sydney had the hotel worker that got done.
Sydney had the hotel worker, yeah.
Yeah, what happened with that? They haven't got any community spread though, right?
Yeah, but strangely enough, so one case and we haven't closed the border today. So it's like, has your stance changed after the election?
Well, this is when I first heard that, Sydney had this quarantine issue, I thought, oh, great. So, McGowan will shut the border to New South Wales, and where does that leave me for my trip? But nothing's come of it, has it? So,
well, the election's over now, so what's he need to do worry about it for? Give everyone back their freedoms. So what I don't understand, another thing I don't understand is, with the football, right? Well, speaking to Dom, and he was saying that they haven't even got an answer to the football game next week.
No, it's this week. What do you mean
this week? Sorry, this week.
This Sunday, I'm supposed to be going to the Eagles game. I don't know if I'm going or not.
Well, this is another thing that the government hasn't pulled the finger out of their backside. So hang on a minute. What's the difference between 30,000 and 60,000? Still a lot of people there.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, what difference does it make?
Yeah, it's actually 45,000 people. It's not. It's 75%. So it was like, what's the difference between 45 and 55?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what's the difference between 45 and 55? So what's
they want the public? They want the public to wear masks on the train to and from the stadium, but you don't have to wear it in the stadium. Where's the logic there? What, you're going to tell me that in the stadium it's so open air that you can social distance, so you don't need the masks? Like, you're just as packed in at a stadium as you are in a train carriage. So, what's the difference?
I got my mask on just in case for future.
your Ronaldo mask. He scored a hat trick for you last night.
Yeah, I know he did actually. No, this is just a Juve one, mate. Just straight old Juve.
It actually is a bit annoying because I had something else on Sunday, and I was like, I don't know, like, do I say yes? I'm meant to RSVP. Do I say no? It's like, it would be nice to know what I'm actually doing. I paid for a membership, and I don't even know what's going on.
Well, you can't have it out with the Eagles. It's not their fault because they're hamstrung too. They're trying to work.
I'm not blaming the Eagles, but just everyone's in limbo. And how do they decide who gets to go and who has to stay home?
See, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure they'll just do a raffle and pull out, because I assume, say there's about 60 lots, right? The 60, areas, so they can only fill up 45 of them. So I just assume that 5,000 people are general public, so they won't get a gig. So throw them one out. It leaves 10,000 they got to leave out, right? So I assume they'll just say 10 blocks. 10 blocks don't come. Just do like a raffle.
Was it 1,000 per block? Is it?
No, just roughly. I don't know how many there is, but roughly something like that. However much a block fits.
I mean, why didn't they sort this out like 3 weeks ago so that then they can notify people whether they can go to the footy or not? They're leaving it so fine.
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to get the right messaging in the time that there's left? I don't know.
Just wear your mask.
To be honest, I can't be stuffed with any of it. I'm happy to stay home and watch it on TV.
Does the season start this week? Does it? Just sorry off the record.
Yeah, it starts on Thursday night.
Jeez, I better put my tips in. Better put my tips in.
Yes.
Very much so. Got to make sure I win my tipping comps this year.
This is the first tipping comp I've ever done.
You've never done a tipping comp before?
Never. The only tipping competition I ever done was the World Cup. Was the World Cup one. That was the only one I ever did.
To be honest, I find that being in a tipping comp, it makes you keep up the interest when your interest would otherwise, drop off.
Yeah.
You know what's even more interesting? So I do a tipping comp, so I do two. So obviously I've got one that's at the end of the year, Whoever wins gets the most wins. The other one I do is you actually, there's a winner every week. And the only way to win is if you get 9 correct. So if you don't get 9 correct, you jackpots to the next week. So you continue on till somebody gets 9. The good thing is, say, if you're 30 behind in the last round, it doesn't matter. You can still win.
Why?
Because it's based on every week. It's not based on the end of score.
Yeah.
Every week, every week.
But you can't win the competition, but you can win money. That's what you mean.
Yeah, but that's the competition.
So
win money.
So every week, so say there's everyone puts in $5 a round, right? And say each week's $130, right? So if nobody wins the next week, whoever gets 9 wins $260. The next week, whoever gets 9 wins $390, so on and so forth.
And if no one wins, it goes to the grand final.
And closer to the margin
wins.
I like that, but you need a certain amount of people to be in the competition. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, that one there's a fairly.
In ours, we've got 10. So,
well, I've still got a couple more people to join, by the way. So,
well, get them on. But I'm thinking that, you know, having first, second, and third prize probably won't work. So we might have to just go, you know, all or nothing. First prize gets everything. Last prize gets a wooden spoon from my kitchen. I'm actually going to give the last prize a broken wooden spoon. I'm going to snap it on my knee and I'm going to post it or give it to whoever loses.
Well, I had plenty when I was a kid, the broken wooden spoon.
That's what I thought.
I'll go look for it.
I think we all had plenty of broken wooden spoons.
My mother was a professional wooden spoon, even though to this day she denies it. I'm like, it's conveniently forget.
What about the shoe throwing? Was she good at throwing shoes?
No, I'll be honest, I didn't really get many shoes. I got wooden spoons, the odd broomstick. Got the odd broomstick every now and then. No. But just for everyone out there, I was really loved as a child, but I was a bit mischievous. So I do cop it every now and then. But definitely the wooden spoon. So
I'd like to point out I never copped it because I was a good child. And I just want to put that out there.
I think by that stage my mother was tired.
Oh, mellowed, you reckon?
My mother had mellowed. She was tired.
You're the youngest of the 4, aren't you, Tom?
Yeah, I suppose anyone following Mel would look like a golden child, eh?
Born with a silver spoon in your mouth. The others paved the way for you.
Couldn't be born with a wooden spoon. Mel would broke them all.
Definitely broke a few.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Now, look, I don't think we're going to get through all my list of Mark McGowan negatives or faults. But anyway. Otherwise, we'll just be harping on and going on forever. So let's just let.
But there's plenty there. Just a quick off the back.
I'm sure we'll have opportunity over the next 4 years to bring them up. Don't worry.
Obviously, there's the one about the only couple that I'd like to bring up is obviously the back road deals with the property in East Perth.
Go to town, Mel. Go.
No, I'm saying that. No, just we talk about it another time. But there was that one. There was the $200 million loss.
Because people won't know. Anyone listening who doesn't know won't know. So
Dom, you can feel that. You're more of an expert on that one.
Explain the backroom deals.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things like that I've brought up previously. I mean, like, you know, we should just probably do a list and post it up.
I've done it.
But it's always on there.
You know what? I'll post that photo of my notes. I'll put it on the Facebook page. Here you go. Learn a little bit about our popular premier. Here you go.
Almost as popular as Harry and Meghan Markle. Right?
Oh, yes. What do you reckon about these two assholes?
What do you reckon?
Do I have to say any more? I mean, I couldn't give a flying rat's ass about the royal family, but these two.
So after all this saga about the royal family, what are your thoughts on Australia becoming a republic now?
Does the Queen need any more stabbing in the back? Poor woman.
I actually really like the Queen personally.
Yeah, you can't say anything. I don't think you can say anything bad about the Queen.
She's the most dignified woman. If you had to pick, everyone talks about like the question always says, if you had to go out for dinner and ask and have a dinner and conversation with any person in the world, who would it be? My answer is always the Queen. I reckon she'd be an absolutely fascinating person to talk to. Fascinating.
I think so. Well, they do say that she's like an amazing conversationalist because she has a way of getting information out of you and asking questions as like a really good interviewer does. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, but
say.
it's not even so much about me. Like, I'd love to know. I mean, she worked during World War II, so she was a mechanic or a driver or something. I don't even know. In World War II. Now remember, that was 70 plus years ago. She's seen as 11 or 12 US presidents. God knows how many British prime ministers.
Back to Royal Princess Meghan.
Exactly. In one respect, I think it's inevitable the royal family will no longer be the royal family. That's I think it's inevitable because there's no place for a royal family in modern society, just in general. All right. The thing is, everyone loves the Queen. While the Queen's there, it'll be fine. Once she dies, prepare for this serious conversation to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to get bypassed from Charles straight to William.
Well, no, they'll be a royal family. Whether they have any power, well, that's the, I suppose.
Why would Charles give it up? He's been waiting his whole life.
He's 80 years old.
So he's been waiting his whole life. Even if he gets 5 minutes, he wants it. Of course he does.
I know, but you know what the problem is? He doesn't have the support that obviously his mum does, and he does not have the support that his son does. I think that's quite clear.
Did Charles ever serve in the military?
I
know he's got some medals, but I don't know if they're for service or just.
I don't think the oldest serves.
Oh yeah, but Harry did. I mean, William did.
No, he's not. No, he didn't serve because there was a worry. He was meant to, and then they were worried about people releasing where he was, so he didn't.
That was
serve.
for Harry, but wasn't it?
No. That was William as well.
Oh, William was in the armed services, but
all right.
Yeah, but
can we talk about the Oprah interview with Meghan? Did you guys watch it?
No, I didn't watch it. No, I didn't. Did not watch it.
Neither of you watched it.
Does not interest me.
No, I watched parts of it.
Did
I didn't
not
watch the
interest
whole 2
me
hours.
at all.
That much.
All right. So Mel, you didn't watch it, so shut up. Dom, what do you think?
I didn't watch it, but there's enough coverage on TV
Mel,
to see what you
shut
said.
the fuck up.
All right.
You're live. Careful with the language.
Beep. Right.
Beep.
Any part specifically we're talking about that you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Is there any part that really grinds your gears?
Just she grinds my gears in general because she's so cool.
I know that. She grinds my gears as well.
And so fake, obviously. But what's your opinion of it?
See, I find, look, it's the hypocrisy of the situation. So you leave the UK because of the UK press, and then you go and do an interview with Oprah, which is...
You leave the UK because you want to get away from the public eye. You don't want the publicity. You want to stay, be more private, but would do an interview with Oprah.
You worried about your mental health during COVID. I felt like saying, honey, get in line, because that was pretty much the entire world at the same time. You were locked down. They were locked down in an apartment. You were locked down in a palace. I don't think they're the same.
She made us not sound like Rapunzel locked away at the top of the tower with the dragon. You know what I mean? Like, please. Did you believe the mental health card that she played?
I wouldn't deny it because it probably could be the case. The thing is she the only one that's going to be dealing with that? No, I think they would have issues with, at times not wanting to do their duty, shall we speak. But at the same time, you voluntarily chose to marry that family. They were born into it. They're very different scenarios.
Yeah. And talking like she didn't know what she was getting into. She actually said something like that. And that she was locked away in the palace or whatever.
That's clearly a lie.
She flew to America to go to Serena Williams' baby shower. And that was at the cost of like $500,000, something like that. I'm sorry. I know that people have mental health issues. I don't believe that she's one of those people. I think that she made it up. That's my opinion.
You know what? She might have mental health issues. I'm not denying that she has mental health issues.
She might have. If I was going to bet money on it, my money would be on the negative. That's me.
Are your mental health issues? Do you think you're entitled to more support, more help, more exposure than the normal person? No, I do not. At the end of the day, unfortunately, you chose to be a commoner. So you know what that means? You live like the rest of us.
Complaining that her son won't be titled as a prince, which is normal protocol, okay? the grandson not in line to be
great-grandson.
No, but yeah, it's great-grandson at this stage. It's not grandson.
Normal protocol, okay? Complaining that the great-grandson not in line to be on the throne, not getting the title of prince, won't get security detail. Again, normal protocol. Just painting herself as a victim when why can't the husband explain to her how shit happens?
Well, there's a couple of things to this one as well. It's like the racism card as well. And, there probably was situations.
Another one that I don't believe. That's another one I don't believe.
My thing is, this is the thing with that is, you are absolutely dreaming if you think that kid is going to deal with actual racism.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me that you think that the Prince of England is going to deal with racism? Like, are you that or are you that blind to the fact that kid, and man, that kid could come out as dark as he wants. He ain't never going to feel true racism like actual people deal with true racism.
Yep, I agree.
Because he's not. He's a prince. He's born to privilege. He will also feel as much privilege as he would a normal person feel racism in there. I don't think that his issues aren't going to be. His issues aren't going to be whether he come out black or not. His issue is going to be whether he wants to be part of the royal family or not. That's probably the bigger issue. I think that's what it is. And at the end of the day, who remembers Zara Phillips's kids? They're the same.
Who's she again?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the Queen's eldest granddaughter.
Exactly the point. So
Okay.
It's the other granddaughter. She's got kids.
To me, the whole 2 hours was a complete first world problems whinge fest. Woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have no shame?
We're sitting there in a $5,000 Dolce & Gabbana dress.
You're a princess who's got her cake and is eating it too, and you're whinging when there's people out there in the world really are suffering. You're a disgrace. I'm sorry. I can't stomach her.
See, and this was my opinion. I have nothing to back this up. This is just the way I see it. I felt like she was a bit of gaslighting him.
Did you notice when Harry came and sat down and she kept putting her hand, because body language says a lot, right? She kept putting her hand on top of his. That's her being dominant.
Damn.
Yeah, well, that's happened, right? That's the way what she was doing. It's like she was hushing him in a way, or she was dominating over him, and that's the way it is It's obvious that that's the way it is in their relationship. All right, she wears the pants. There's no two ways about it.
What did the reaction from the UK think they would get, where they said, "So you've basically taken a UK son who potentially,
who they did love, they did love him,
and for a portion of his life was second in line. Fair portion of his life was second in line, my man, right? So he wasn't going to be king, but stranger things have happened. It could have been the case.
Also,
right?
Lizzie's dad wasn't supposed to be king either.
That's right. Lizzie was never meant to be queen. That happened. The king of Thailand was never meant to be king. That's just what happens, right? So things like these happen. So it is, yeah. I just find, how do you put this? You've taken him away from the UK. He's basically bagged out the UK, and then
he's bagged out his own family. You know what I mean?
His own people. No, but even his own people.
His people, but the biggest thing is his own family.
I'll tell you another thing that I found strange about that as well. So she had an issue with racism in the UK and then moved to America. Okay, so let me get this right. You think black people are treated better in America than they are treated in Britain, in the UK? That just spins me out. I don't know. Surely that the UK would be seems to be on pretty much most levels a more progressive, understanding, acceptable place.
The whole thing to me just seemed that made it obvious that she is an absolute complete narcissist. The world revolves around her, and everyone in her life revolves around her and does what she says and is supplicants to her.
Yeah.
Starting with Harry. He is so under the thumb, it's it's tragic. Like to see any man under the thumb of their spouse like that, and vice versa.
Yeah, both ways. Yeah,
it's gross.
Yeah.
I don't like to see it either way. But yeah, anyway, to trash your in-laws' family like that in the most public way possible. There cannot be a more public way than that. It's fucking Oprah, right?
On the flip side,
how do you ever come back from that? How do you ever come back from that and be a happy family?
Great reply from the Queen, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, her reply was pretty. What did she say?
She said, "We're sorry you feel that way. You're always welcome into our house. We'll deal with these matters privately."
Something about while recollections may vary. Very good way of saying we don't agree, but fair bump, carry on.
Her motto is apparently their motto is pretty good. Don't complain, don't explain.
Yep. Well, that's why after that I was like, I hope the Queen doesn't even respond. I hope the royals don't even make a response. You know what I mean? But maybe they weren't going to, but they ambushed William, right, when he was, I think, dropping off the kids at school or something. And he had to say something because they were almost in his face, asking him questions. So thanks, Carl. It's just popped in with a message on Facebook saying, I agree with Simon. She's a drama queen. not too PC there, Carl, but we know where what you mean.
I mean, she was an actress doing actress things. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, she's a good actress. I know she was only on an average show, Suits, but she puts on a good performance, I reckon.
The first two seasons was really good in Suits. Then it went crap after that.
I watched the first season and then I dropped off it, and I always intended to go back and start watching from the second season. But now
the first two seasons were good enough that it went there.
No interest whatsoever. And I love how the actor that she played alongside there, the what was his name? Patrick something, I don't know, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
The main character in Suits keeps coming out in her defense and saying, stuff to defend it. Mate, just get stuffed. Like, stop trying to be a white knight for this girl, man. She's made her bed.
Yeah,
let her.
Oh, Mike.
I don't know. Yeah, Mike. I don't know his real name in the show, in real life. Anyway, that's not. What did you see? Piers Morgan on his Good Morning Britain show storm off and quit the show because of they're trying to. Well, basically, they're trying to shut down his opinion, pretty much.
Was that planned, do you reckon?
No, it's not planned.
No, I don't know, man. He had a job lined up the next day. Like, I reckon.
What's he doing? What job?
He's always a shot. He's got a job with, like,
with what?
Sky News, but similar sort of thing. He had a job the next day.
Does he? Okay, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it sounds a bit. But that's Piers Morgan, so to be honest.
Well, maybe he had the offer on the table already, so he had that in his back pocket, so he didn't care. But I don't think that he planned.
I don't think he actually planned to do it, but he just the way it fell, and that was it.
He probably goes too hard, right? I mean,
he does carry on like a pork chop. You know what I mean? He does.
Yeah, I mean, compare, to us. I mean, here's us, a few know-nothings on the other side of the world with a podcast. Big deal, right? But he's got a pretty large and loud platform. So he didn't exactly, tone it down. He went pretty hard.
Yeah, but that's him. Like, that's what you expect.
But Piers has done that, mate, from when he was in America.
Well, what I mean is it's one thing me saying I don't believe, what she said about the mental health card. All right, who cares? That's coming from me. Who gives a shit? But for him to say that, got to be careful, right?
Yeah,
You've got to be careful what you say in public about mental health.
He doesn't get on with her. Like, that's not.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He's influenced by the fact that he used to be friends with her, and then she just went MIA on him.
She ghosted him.
Yeah, but
pretty much.
But I think that's also emblematic of the way she is in life, right? She's got no family. She chops and chains friends, right? You know what I mean? Well, that says a lot about people, if you ask me. I mean, you're getting married into the royal family, and you got one family member there. You're going to tell me that doesn't say something about you? Come on.
Always.
You don't even have a third cousin that you know the same age with as you grew up with or something like that.
Or as the Italians say, no compari or something.
All right. I know she's not Italian, so maybe third cousin's a stretch. Maybe second cousin, you know.
Something like that. That's something I always say to Myrtle when if everywhere you go smells like shit, you should check under your shoe.
No.
So I'm like, well, if the drama keeps following you, maybe you're the problem.
This is what I mean. Who's the common denominator here? It's her.
Yeah.
You know?
Mike Ross.
In all honesty, Mike was the reason for most of the problems in that show anyway, because he couldn't keep his mouth shut.
He couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Mate, how hard is it? Don't
shut up. That's the one thing that frustrated me.
Mate, he's out there with a megaphone. Far out.
All right. Well, I can't comment because after season, I liked Harvey Specter. He was cool as anything. That bloke. Was he still in it like all the way to the end?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. After season 2, he lost that punchiness in his character, which is why I turned off. You know what I mean?
He lost the arrogance.
Yeah, he lost that. It became he had emotion. Like no.
For me, he was the show. For me,
he was totally the show.
But that's what happens. The shows evolve, and they lose. They lose. They lose what they had.
Except The Sopranos, that's one.
Are you watching it yet?
No, I'm still up to season 2. So I haven't been watching it.
Still up to season 2. You haven't watched an episode for 6 months, then?
I haven't actually. No.
Oh, Mel, now you got to start again from episode 1.
Man.
You know what? Maybe I'll start as well, and I can join in.
Have you not watched The Sopranos either?
No, he's not watching. Brilliant.
Are you? Who are you? Who am I dealing with here?
Hang on a second. When The Sopranos came out, I was 15 years old. Give me a break. That ain't exactly.
No,
you've had all this time.
11. You're actually 11.
What year did it come out?
98.
But you've had all this time.
To be honest, it was probably on our TV when I was about 14 or 15 because we always took like 3 or 4 years to get TV shows back then. So I probably was 14.
What was it? I think it was on. It used to be on Thursday nights at 10 o'clock or something like that. I used to hang out for it.
Well, going back to The Sopranos quickly. I was watching because I watch on YouTube and they always talk about Sopranos. And they said the most influential episode was the one where in series 1. I think it was episode 5.
Episode 5.
Where he found the snitch.
Where they go to the university. What's it called?
That one there. They reckon that was the episode that changed everything for.
Because that was like an episode in, like a show within the show kind of thing, because it could kind of stand alone, right? It wasn't really related to anything beyond that episode.
Spoilers, fellas, spoilers.
Nah, it's not spoiling anything. But that was, yeah, that's right. That's when
that 20-year-old show. That's
when the show, what? Yeah, it's a 20-year-old show, but it's probably more popular now than it ever was because of streaming services, right?
Because they're doing the what's the other show?
They're doing the prequel.
The prequel.
Yeah, they're doing the prequel for that.
Also, the Talking Sopranos podcast has been happening, so they're doing like an episode watch. Anyway.
I watched up with Richie April. That was that one. That's the last I've seen.
I'll start watching for you so I can join in.
Yes,
and
watch it.
Speaking of the other one, what was the other show that Coming to America Tucson? What was your expert thoughts on that movie? That I personally reckon was average.
What a great movie that was! I said
it was average.
Absolutely shat all over the first one. That was the best sequel I've ever seen.
We just started discussing sequels, but on the last episode, but that one didn't go there. That one.
Yeah.
We lost that episode.
Planning on watching it, and then I got some feedback from my fellow podcasters, and I really have no desire to watch it anymore.
My strong advice is let it be.
It is strong advice. Let it be because you don't want to ruin the first one.
That's what I mean. You don't want it. It'll when you watch it, it'll taint the first one for you. So don't watch it. It's that bad. It's that bad. It is the wokest of woke.
It's not. It's not even woke. It's the thin plot. It was the woke.
Thin plot.
Yes,
I don't think you can. I don't think you can laugh at any points during that movie. I don't think you can. There's
the
nothing
plot to me was too thin. It was pathetic.
The acting is so bad. It's just not acting. It's so bad.
Yeah, but that happens in a lot of sequels. So that's not and
not like this, but
I don't know, man. There's some sequels that have been on TV lately, and I was like, I think it was Predator 2.
Predator 2 was horrible, man. Predator 2 was horrible. Speaking, all right, let's have a quick one. This is what we got 10 minutes. Worst sequels of all time.
Carl's watching online and he said that Coming to America 2 sucked noodles. That's a
He told me already. It was horrible. Don't watch it. So.
It's so bad, man. But it was about halfway through the film. No. The way I watched it with my wife. 10 minutes in, I turned to her and I just went, "This is so fucking bad. Like this is unwatchable almost." But obviously, you got to keep watching because you've committed to this thing, so you got to keep going. But I reckon less than halfway through, I was flicking through my phone, looking at social media, Twitter, and I stopped paying attention to the movie because it was just so boring.
I actually went on Twitter to have a look at what people's feedback was on it, just to see what they said.
And it just got smashed on social media.
There was certain people, "Oh, it's amazing, you love it, this and that." I'm like, really? What am I watching? It must get better, That's one thing. It must get better.
By Amazon to say it.
It's very hard to make a good sequel, though. It's actually harder to make a good sequel than it is to make a good movie. And actually, because you have to not ruin the first one, but like make it better in a way. It's actually a really difficult thing to do, and there's not many movies that have pulled it off.
Well, probably the greatest film of all
time.
Especially
30 years between drinks. You're never going to pull it off.
Maybe if you ask Francis Ford Coppola, maybe we would have learned something there.
But that's the exception to the rule. And not only that,
the thing about The Godfather 2 is he had a story to tell. You know what I mean? He had a book. I've actually never read Mario.
He had a reference point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He had a reference point. So he had plenty of leftover material from 1 to use for 2, right? And then when you make the jump from 2 to 3, when there's a lot of years in between, again, you don't get it right, okay? Now, 3 is probably not quite as bad as people say. It is a bit of a stinker.
But it's a tough one.
But it has a point, right? It has a point, is what I mean. Right?
It's a completely different
era. It's concluding the story. Michael dies at the end, blah, blah, blah. Right? The point of it is that it was all for nothing, basically, I suppose you could say, for 3, right? So it had a finality. Whereas, look, I don't know, it's a completely different genre, right, of film. But Coming to America Part 2 had no point whatsoever.
But speaking of that genre, Beverly Hills Cop 2 was really good.
I know they were good films, but I can't remember the storylines.
Fantastic. I think 2's better than 1.
No.
2's wicked.
Number 1 is amazing. Number 2
is brilliant. In the bin.
3 is poo.
Absolutely thrown in the bin.
Absolute disgrace. So that's.
What about Police Academy? Now there's some good sequels.
Police Academy 2 was crap.
Was it?
Yeah, Police Academy 2 was rubbish. Number 3 and 4. Number 1's the best. 3 and 4 weren't bad, but 2 was a bit average.
Which Police Academy was the Blue Oyster bar in?
That was in a few of them. It was definitely the first one.
Was it in more than one?
Was the first one? Yeah, it was the first one.
I love that thing.
But Hot Shots 2 over Hot Shots 1.
Hot Shots 2. Naked Gun.
Naked Gun, really good. These are the spoof ones.
I don't remember.
The comedy ones.
On all the spoof ones, like Scary Movie 2 is amazing.
Can you say spoof? Don't say spoof. Say spoof.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Your gut of mind went the wrong way. Those are different kind of movies. Like, I don't know if you really like, short of animated films, not a lot of films get it right.
Yeah, it is, especially these days. God. Now films are just rehashes of comics and crap, or remakes of old films.
Well, the Batman one was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Joker one. Yeah, the Joker that came out, last year or a couple of years ago. That was all right.
Dark Knight Rises is good movies.
Yeah.
But there's not many of those. It's very hard to follow up a movie with another good movie.
Mm.
John Wick 3 was probably better than 2, to be honest.
But even, what was the latest Bond film? What was the last one? Aren't they doing one where Bond is a woman? Or did that
no.
Did that not happen?
There's a new one, but she's a 00. She's not 007. She's a 00. So she's a special agent. Yeah, which is fair.
But it's part of the Bond franchise?
Well, it could be, because there was women in Bond, so it wouldn't surprise me. like M was a major character in Bond. So it doesn't surprise me you could do one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it's got to be Skyfall and Spectre.
Yeah, they were really good. I actually liked all the American Not Fantastic.
But just on Coming to America, they should have called it Coming to Zamunda.
Yeah, I found the title very confusing now because you don't know which one you're talking about.
Well, Coming number 2 America. All right. Okay. Nice play on the original title, I suppose. But the majority of the film, like 95% of the film, is actually based in Zamunda. So they should have called it Coming to Zamunda, and it still probably would have had the same effect. Like, people would have known that it's part of the Coming to America franchise.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably a better title.
That's actually not bad. Actually, probably
I'm sure they would have considered it. They just didn't go with it. But anyway.
That's actually not a bad comment there, Simon.
Thank you. I'm full of good comments.
The Bourne Supremacy, what's it called? The Bourne Ultimatum there, whatever it was.
I still think the original Bourne was the best one.
No, all the Bournes were good. I liked all. Not the one, Jeremy Renner one was a bit average, but that was pretty good. And Terminator 2, amazing.
Yep. Probably the greatest villain in movie history, by the way.
Terminator 2, awesome. That was really good.
He really was. I don't think you're going to get a better villain than that. Amazing. The guy turned into metal. Like, you kill him and he just go back to normal. Amazing.
Comment from Carl. They should have called it Coming to America 2 Electric Boogaloo.
I don't think you could have called it anything to. I think you could have called it anything to try and save it. I suppose it was destined to fail.
Yeah, Coming to Zamunda would have been the one if I had to.
It should have had Guido Hatzis in it.
Those are the days.
Guido, Jesus, that's a name.
Speaking of causing injury by doing the electric boogaloo like Guido Hatzis, I pulled my hammy last week.
That's what happens. Old age, mate.
Doing the electric boogaloo?
I was pretty much. I was doing the electric boogaloo off a grapevine.
Hey, it sucks, eh? It sucks when you do a hammy. It's actually painful.
That's the 5th time I've done my hammy in my lifetime, in my sporting / non-sporting career.
Your professional career.
Far out, man. It's been 17 years since I pulled my hammy. I realised. The last time was 2004.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
17 years.
It's almost better now, but
still hurts. 17 years later, you can feel the pain.
I wasn't playing soccer. Let's leave it at that. All right, lads. It's been special.
It has.
Thank you to all our listeners. Carl Electric Boogaloo.
Carl the Electric Boogaloo.
Angelati, thanks for watching.
Was Ange on there?
Nathan Angus, thanks for watching.
Ange, we need to have words, okay? Yeah, we've got a discussion to have, Ange. Thanks, Carl, for tuning in. We'll try to get you on the show. I know that you're keen to jump on and have a chat.
He wants to chat about Sopranos.
Actually,
Sopranos fan.
Should we try it? Let's before we sign off. Let's try and, because there's a way we can get a call in.
Well, we'll play. We're gonna watch. Tom hasn't seen Sopranos. At least watch the first.
Yeah, let me watch.
You gotta watch the first 5 episodes. Watch up to episode 5.
Let me watch the first 5, and then we'll do it.
No go, Carl. Sorry, mate. Next time.
Unlucky, buddy.
But we'll definitely do the. Sopranos talk.
All
right. When you're up to speed on what's going on, but we're not going to do Sopranos episodes. This is not a Sopranos podcast. I don't know what kind of podcast this is, to be honest. It's just all over the place, but that's what
it's just there's no rhyme or rhythm. Just flow with it, eh?
That's motto.
Yeah. No. We can all agree on Coming to America 2 sucks. That's it.
Definitely.
Coming to America 2 Electric Boogaloo.
The Electric Boogaloo.
That's the comment of the day. Well, that might have to be the title of this episode.
No, you got to put the Blue Oyster music on there, mate.
I think the title of this episode is going to have to be something along the lines of Bloodbath or Western Bloodbath. It's been more like a Tarantino film over here in the last few days.
What's its name? That was a pretty shitty one. Speaking of Bloodbaths, Blade 2. That was another rubbish movie.
Where are you pulling this stuff from?
The Hateful Eight. That was
Hateful Eight. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, but that was a Western Bloodbath.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know what that was. Sorry.
That's what it is. Western Bloodbath, the hateful state.
Oh, that's it. Good one.
Podcast
Beautiful.
title. That's quality. All right, lads. Signing off. Ciao.
Let's go. Ciao, ciao. Brilliant. And we're off.
That's it.
It's an amazing song, that.
Oh man,
great song.
I think we're still live. I got to turn this off.
It's special to Carl, that one.
Oh my god,
Electric Boogaloo. All right, man.
Take it easy, right?
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.